Hi, everybody. This is the football Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, the Hut, and welcome back to the football Hut. I hope you like this video. We're going to talk about Michigan, the Michigan Wolverines. A lot happened on Saturday, from the coach being banned for 3 games by the NCAA, and of course, the game, and then after the game, when the assistant coaches started to cry. Well, let's start at the beginning of the day. This is from the Associated Press. Headline: Coach Jim Harbaugh banned from 3 games over sign-stealing allegations. Michigan asked judge for a stay. Well, they didn't get the stay in the first game. It didn't get in quick enough. The Big Ten Conference banned Jim Harbaugh from coaching Michigan's 3 remaining regular season games on Friday, escalating an extraordinary confrontation with college football's winningest program over a sign-stealing scheme that has rocked the sport. The school delivered on its promise to fight back in court a few hours later, asking a Michigan judge for a temporary restraining order that would allow Harbaugh to coach the Wolverines in their biggest game of the season so far. The discipline was announced less than 24 hours before kickoff at number 9 Penn State. The second-ranked Wolverines have a shot to win a 3rd straight Big Ten title and the school's first national championship since 1997. Michigan's team plane landed in Pennsylvania shortly before the announcement. It issued a statement ridiculing the decision. Quote, "Like all members of the Big Ten Conference, we are entitled to a fair, deliberate, and thoughtful process to determine the full set of facts before a judgment is rendered," Michigan President Santo Ono said in a statement. Today's action by Commissioner Tony Pedretti disregards the conference's own handbook, violates basic tenets of due process, and sets an untenable precedent of assessing penalties before an investigation has been completed. Harbaugh has denied any knowledge of any improper scouting scheme in his program. Michigan warned earlier this week that it was prepared to take possible legal action if the conference punished the program before a full investigation. The NCAA and the Big Ten are both looking into the claims. To ensure fairness in the process, we intend to seek a court order, together with Coach Harbaugh, preventing this disciplinary action from taking effect, Ono said. The request for the restraining order was filed in Westernall County, home to the university, listing Pedretti and the Big Ten as defendants, and attorneys for Harbaugh and the school contending that students and players would suffer significant and irreparable harm if the punishment stands. Courts were closed Friday, the recognized federal holiday for Veterans Day, and it was unclear when the ruling might come. Judge Timothy P. Connors, a Michigan graduate, was listed as the judiciary officer, but it was not clear whether he was handling the case. Such a fight between the conference and one of its most storied members is unheard of. The dispute began 3 weeks ago, and the allegations leaked day by day, with it becoming clear the Wolverines did not want their undefeated season derailed by an unfinished investigation of activities it says Harbaugh knew nothing about and are not unheard of across college football. The Big Ten, however, said the school had violated its sportsmanship policy by conducting an impermissible in-person scouting operation over multiple years that resulted in an unfair competitive advantage that compromised the integrity of competition. As a result, the Big Ten said Michigan must play without Harbaugh against the Litany Lions this weekend. Next week in Maryland, in the annual showdown game against rival and number 3 Ohio State 2 weeks from now. If Michigan wins out, he would be clear to return for the Big Ten title game in Indianapolis. For now, while Harbaugh's allowed that practice and other activities, he cannot be present at the game venue. The league also sent a 13-page letter to Michigan Athletic Director Ward Manuel to back up its decision. So, you can read that on your own. Now, here's the interesting thing. The Wolverines didn't really need Harbaugh in the game. This is from Yahoo Sports. Without Jim Harbaugh, number 3 Michigan tops number 10 Penn State, 24-15 to stay undefeated. Even without Jim Harbaugh, the Michigan train keeps chugging along. In the midst of a tumultuous week that included Harbaugh being suspended by the Big Ten, amid the ongoing sign-stealing saga, the number 3 Wolverines went into Happy Valley and handled business against number 10 Penn State with a 24-15 win at Beaver Stadium. With the win, Michigan improved to 10-0 with a trip to Maryland on deck before the highly anticipated showdown with number 1 Ohio State. Michigan hadn't faced many tough teams to this point in the season, and the Wolverines were able to stay undefeated in a tough road environment in a game that proved to be a defensive struggle. The Wolverines and Nittany Lions combined for only 134 passing yards as both teams leaned heavily on the ground attack. At one point in the second half, Michigan ran the ball on 20 consecutive offensive plays as it was content to chew up the clock and play the field position game. In the first half, the approach worked as the Wolverines reeled off a few explosive runs, including a 44-yard burst from Blake Corum and a 22-yard touchdown run from Donovan Edwards. The Wolverines were able to build a 14-3 lead midway through the second quarter, but Penn State put together its best offensive drive of the game before halftime. The Nittany Lions went 75 yards in 10 plays and reached the end zone when quarterback Drew Aller plunged in from 11 yards out on a design run. PSU went for 2 and failed, so the Michigan lead was 14-9 at halftime. Penn State was back on offense to open the second half and appeared to be putting a drive together. Aller picked up a first down on a third down run near midfield, but was stripped. Michigan recovered the fumble on what proved to be one of the most pivotal plays of the game. The turnover gave Michigan good field position, and the offense went to work. The Wolverines called 12 consecutive runs and eventually stalled inside the 10. Instead of trying to make it a two-score game, Michigan kicked the short field goal to go up 17-9 with 3:36 remaining in the third quarter. With Penn State's offense on the other side, that margin was insurmountable. On their next 4 drives, the Nittany Lions gained a total of 23 yards. The fourth of those drives came with the clock ticking on the 5 minutes, so James Franklin kept his offense on the field on fourth down. Predictably, Aller's pass fell incomplete to give the ball back to Michigan. And on the first play of the ensuing drive, Corum broke loose for a 30-yard touchdown run to increase the lead to 24-9 and put the finishing touches on the Michigan win. The Nittany Lions would get back into the end zone in garbage time, but it was too late. Michigan recovered the onside kick, ran out the clock, and got out of State College with the win. Michigan would finish the day with 227 yards. Corum led the way with 145 yards and 2 scores on 26 carries. Whereas pitched in 52 yards and a score on 10 attempts. McCarthy, who had 34 rushing yards of his own, ended up attempting only 8 passes. He completed 7 of them for 60 yards. And because McCarthy's lone pass attempt of the second half did not count because of a pass interference penalty, Michigan closed out the game by running the ball 32 consecutive times. Now, the most amusing reaction, at least amusing to me, is the reaction to the Michigan, the offensive coordinator of the offensive coordinator for Jim Harbaugh and the offensive line coach, Sharon Moore, had an interesting reaction after the game when he was interviewed right as the clock was finished. This is from SI.com. Michigan, and I watched it. SI.com. Michigan's Sharon Moore cried, cursed, an emotional interview after win over Penn State. I know this was Fox, but sheesh. Michigan offensive coordinator and offensive line coach Sharon Moore acted as the interim head coach on Saturday in place of a suspended Jim Harbaugh, leading the Wolverines to a 24-15 win over number 10 Penn State. Moore has coached in Michigan in a variety of roles since 2018, and his leadership was crucial in the team's biggest win of the season thus far. After the game, Fox's Jenny Taft interviewed Moore, and the 37-year-old poured out his emotions while dictating the win to Harbaugh. And the funny thing is, she's interviewing him. They didn't show on camera so much, but you could see her face was like, you could hear it. You could feel it. Quote, Coach Harbaugh, he says, I effing love you, man, Moore said while fighting back tears. He was crying. I love the S out of you, man. I did this for you. We got the best players, best university, best alumni in the country. Moore continued to call Michigan the best university in the country, and he praised his players while hugging running back Blake Corum. These effing guys, these right here, man. These guys did it. These guys did it, man. Moore's emotions caught everyone on social media off guard as most people were confused. But it was quite amusing, quite frankly. Considering the kind of week they've had, you'd think the crying wouldn't be, that they won. The crying should be that they lost, right? And finally in this video, what's next for Michigan and Michigan program? The off-field drama has been swirling in Ann Arbor since the news broke that the NCAA was investigating Michigan staff member Connor Stallions for allegedly running an in-person scouting operation where he sent friends to games to video record the sideline play signals of future Michigan opponents. Boy, this is crazy. The Big Ten finally levied its punishment on Friday as Michigan was on its flight to PA ahead of Saturday's game. While Harbaugh watched the game with family at the team hotel, offensive coordinator Sharon Moore served as the acting head coach in the biggest test for the Wolverines to this point in the season. Penn State has one of the best defenses in the country. So Moore and UM coaching staff smartly relied on the running game, avoided mistakes, and leaned on their defense against the anemic PSU offense. It worked to perfection. Looking ahead with regard to Harbaugh's suspension, Michigan will represent its case during a hearing in Washtenaw County Court next Friday in the hopes of a temporary restraining order being granted. If that comes to fruition, Harbaugh would likely be back on the sideline next Saturday in College Park, and then the following week at home versus rival Ohio State. Now, I will follow this story for as long as I can. And you need to hit that subscribe button so you can find out everything I'm just learning about this stuff, folks. This is interesting. Interesting. And I'm going to talk about this whole scandal. I will learn about this during the week. So hit that subscribe button if you want to know what I think about it. Or, just leave comments in the comment section. Well, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you later.